Good afternoon, everyone. I was told by the Hotelivate team that it's a group discussion and not a panel discussion, so we'd like to keep it as freewheeling as possible. And I hope all of you can join us with your thoughts and takes as we go ahead. Mr. Baruah, I'll begin the discussion with you. So ITC has set fairly ambitious targets for 2030. It aims to have over 20,000 rooms in its portfolio by 2030. The chain also talks about an asset right strategy. So if you could take me through that asset right strategy, and do you differentiate between different markets when it comes to allocating investments? You're also targeting an owned and managed mix of 30% and 70% respectively. So could you take me through your asset right strategy to begin with?
All right. Thank you, Anumeha. Appreciate the long question. Good afternoon, everybody. This is usually a tough session after lunch, but I'll try and give a genuine reply to all the sections of your question. Asset right is a word that we are following, not today, but for at least the last 3 decades. We've set up hotels in an organized manner over the last 30, 40 years, where we believe certain markets will grow in a trajectory which will evolve in the next 5, 7, 10 years. What we've done differently in the last 3 years is also work with development partners, and we've been starting to understand the business of managing hotels a little bit more detail. We are also a company which believes in the hub and spoke model, which we are demonstrating today. So if you look at India's top 12 cities or top 12 destinations, chances are you will have at least 4 or 5 of our hotels operating there. Some with common brands, so we've got 2 luxury hotels in certain markets, and also introducing, like Mr. Chadda mentioned this morning, a series of new brands. So Story is the youngest kid in our portfolio, but just going places we never thought we could grow into. And Mementos is probably the most opulent, most luxurious destination experience that we've been able to create. Now, while we do this, we go back to where it all started for us, which is the joy of building great assets in good hotels. So in that endeavor, there is a part of us which continues to look at important destinations. We've had Visakhapatnam as an identified center where we are doing some very exciting work, and we will make due announcements of the type of hotel that we are bringing up there. Similarly, we were excited with the opportunity that Delhi presented, and at Yashobhumi we were kind of mindful of what that destination will require us to do. So with ITC, 10 years is a regular time frame. We work on a very different bandwidth of assessment. So 30-70 is an outlook. It could become 28-72, it may become 32-68. But the endeavor is to say we will continue to do all these 3, 4 identified channels. Did I miss anything?
No, you were fairly elaborate.
Okay. Thank you.
To my very long question. Thanks so much. Mr. Kutty, I'll come to you. There is talk of upcoming leisure locations. There are established leisure locations. So how do you arrive at an appropriate investment mix when it comes to earmarking investments for business locations, leisure locations? How are these distinctions made? Yeah, if you could share some thoughts on that.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me talk a little bit about Mahindra Holidays, whom I represent. So Mahindra Holidays, probably some of you might not know, is in the membership, vacation ownership business for the last about 30 years. We are almost a monopolistic business today in membership. We are 300,000 member families. We own and operate about 60 resorts across the country. And of course, we have a large business outside in Europe, as well as a separate company, which is a subsidiary. We enjoy very, very high occupancies being a membership-led business. Like ITC and others, we have a plan to double our inventory by FY30. We are at about 6,200 odd keys as of now. Now, when it comes to capital allocation across leisure, we are only in leisure. there is a distinction made. See, there are many aspects that you consider. For us, for example, when we have 300,000 member families, we have their holiday habits. We know where they have gone. We also know where are they attempting to book, for example. We hence have member behavior as a key data point for us. Then we have destinations. We have about 25, 30 destinations today where we offer our members a choice but not managed by us. But then that's where member demand is building. So that's another key indicator for us. The third is, of course, we all do feasibility reports, understand how it works, from an outside-in perspective, because it's not good to only have inside-out kind of perspective. This is, so basically all of this, what I said was from a demand perspective. But then there is also the fact that you need to balance your portfolio. Probably some of you know, there are many destinations in this country which we have pioneered. There was no brand in Kumbhalgarh when we went there 15 years back. Today it is full of brands. There are several such locations. So like last month we opened a resort in Ambaghat. Sure, many of us don't know where Ambaghat is. Ambaghat is in near Kolhapur. It's a hill station in Maharashtra. So between pioneering, upcoming and established destinations, we have a clear distinction. And hence there are data points that we collect about connectivity infra, which everybody does, but layer it on top of this with these. As far as investments is concerned, it is investments are mainly we look at established destinations where there is already demand. And that's really where we go from an investments perspective. But our whole idea is not to do only established destinations. We need to develop destinations. We have a responsibility to develop tourism and destinations as well. We look at circuits, for example. So there are many of these data points which come in when it comes to selecting where do we want to go, how do we want to go. We're quite focused. Today I might have a list of 90 odd destinations I want to go, but we are clear that in the next 5 years we're going to attempt these 25 odd destinations, and that's where we want to be.
Sure. Thanks so much. Ms. Malhotra, MBD Group has been in the news recently for a very significant announcement. You've partnered with Radisson Hotel Group for a master franchising arrangement to help expand Radisson's Radisson Red and Radisson Collection hotels across India. Radisson has set fairly ambitious targets to reach the 500 hotels mark by 2030. It also works with several owner partners. What led to this partnership between MBD and Radisson, if you could share your thoughts on that, and what sort of inherent strengths are you looking at leveraging for this partnership?
Good afternoon, everyone. And yes, it's been a remarkable partnership that we have entered into. So we have the master franchise rights for their luxury brand, which is the Radisson Collection, and their lifestyle brand, which is the Radisson Red. We do operate, hotel under the Radisson brand, which is in Noida. And I think what has led through this is, if we look at our 20-year journey, has been an exceptional performance that we've been able to bring on ground for Radisson. We have been one of the highest RGI performer for the entire Indian region for not 1 year, for more than a decade now. And the kind of guest satisfaction and also the kind of service concepts that we've been able to get, despite the fact that we were just a Radisson Blue, has been targeting the luxury. And when you see our comp set benchmarking in probably our primary comp set, if we trade at an ADR of about 25K, our immediate competition sits an ADR of about 9 to 10K. So I think our exemplary performance that we've been able to get, both on financial and also on the softer side, be it any aspect you consider, has actually enticed Radisson to entrust their luxury brand into our hands. And we're actually very excited about it. And I think MBD is backed by this phenomenal team. We've actually cherry-picked some of the best talent in the industry, and hence they see a lot of synergies of getting us on board to be able to handle their best in their portfolio. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks so much. Mr. Chandwaskar, every hotel chain has been looking at fairly ambitious 5-year targets. Are we overestimating demand in tier 2, tier 3 locations? Because everyone seems to be betting on these tier 2, tier 3 locations.
I don't think we are overestimating the demand. I think we are probably misreading it. See, what's happening is there is a lot of growth that is happening in tier 2, which was earlier, driven just by leisure. But today, it's also a lot of business as well. So you have to balance out for both the weekday guests and the weekend guests, which is your leisure ones, right? Both their needs are completely different. The business guests need good connectivity, obviously, easy workspaces, but they also need to have these curated experiences which they enjoy in a place like this. But they have to be shorter curated experiences, right? 30, 45, 60 minutes or so. So they don't have the times. But the leisure guests has a much more longer duration of stay with, because of the weekend. So they have enough and more time on their hands to do that. Now you have to ensure that both the segments are taken care of. The experiences that you create for them are curated specifically for their needs, etc. So the overestimation, no. But understanding what the guests want, who is traveling, and what they are traveling for is extremely critical. It's only then that you're able to then satisfy both their needs. So definitely no overestimation on the growth of tier 2, tier 3. That's a real story.
Sure, thanks so much. Mr. Ahuja, RMZ is a relatively new entrant in the hospitality sector. What have been your guiding principles when it comes to expansion in hospitality? How are your strategies shaped?
Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. See, I wouldn't really say that we're a new entrant in the hospitality space because we've really been practicing hospitality for over a decade now, albeit it was a part of our office parks which we curated along the way. So some of our concepts such as the Bay at Eco World in Bangalore, the Loft at Hyderabad, the Marketplace, these are some of the pioneering concepts that we've introduced to the market and which really evidence, be it from a guest experience, from a art and culture curation, as well as from a food and beverage curation perspective, which really have demonstrated to the world that RMC has a hospitality DNA that's been in the works for a very long time. Now, when we've now started building out hotels, that's really institutionalization of that DNA is what we perceive our hospitality strategy to really be, right? And because of all these aspects, we've not really aimed at creating mere buildings. We've aimed at creating destinations as we've moved along the way. And there are hundreds of thousands of people who come to these destinations and these office parks on a daily basis, right? And if we are not able to provide them with a nice mixed-use environment, which is really the attempt as we go along, I think there is a disservice that we are doing to our entire office community, right? So which is the reason why the focus as we go along when we develop these large destinations is really on a mixed-use concept, right? Which will include elements of hospitality, elements of retail. And when I say retail, the way we are thinking about retail is more on a design district concept, which has a portion of art and culture, which has a portion of wellness incorporated in it, sports, everything. So it's really a community that is being created as part of those destinations, and hospitality is an integral part and an integral sort of element of that entire piece. Now, one very important aspect that we need to sort of think about, and that really determined this entire change in philosophy that we've had, is the fact that every investment decision needs to be determined by long-term value creation, right? Creating only office parks does not allow us to maximize value. Each of these other elements really have a flywheel effect onto the entire sort of scheme of things. And because, hospitality sort of drives increased footfalls, increased dwell time within those office parks. So that's really the thought process that if we are able to maximize, or if we want to maximize value going forward, the idea is that we need to have these elements here, and that was really the primary determining factor for institutionalizing our hospitality DNA, so to say.
Sure, appreciate your perspective on this. Mr. Baruah, you mentioned brands such as Story and Mementos. I interviewed Mr. Chadha last year, and he said that a few years ago, if someone asked us to manage a 30 rooms hotel, we would have said no. But now we see a need. So are there any specific regional markets where you see opportunities for brands such as Story?
I think at this time, by way of maintaining brand discipline, we are not in a position to do a story in a city location. Outside a city, you take us anywhere, we will make that story happen. So there are no restrictions other than the fact I don't want to have the challenge of creating a calm oasis in the middle of a tech park or in the middle of an industrial SEZ. That's our only limitation. With that mindset, if you believe there is any opportunity, we are happy to evaluate it. And as far as the scale goes, it's coincidental. We opened our smallest Story, which is a 15-room, beautiful project in Javai just 7 days back. So scale, positioning, privacy, and experience, I think that's what we are pushing for the Story brand. On the larger side, Story can also do a 100-room hotel, but very rare opportunities of that kind. We'll need a massive estate and a very, very calming experience to run that kind of scale. So that's the story for Story so far.
Sure. Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Ms. Malhotra, the broader theme of this conference is leadership in a world on fire. So I cannot not ask you about these ongoing geopolitical developments. And at a time like this, what can investors expect in terms of returns from the Indian hospitality market?
Are you talking about the war-like situation or
the
generally
war-like
prior to that?
The war-like situation.
You know, the war-like situation is an absolutely unpredictable, and I think for anyone to make prognosis on returns in this extremely awkward circumstances is probably not appropriate. But when we are making return on investment decisions, they're mostly on a long-term horizon and not on short-term horizon. And I would believe the war would be a short-term parameter rather than a longer one, God willing. And from a long-term perspective, I mean, if I look at prior to the war-like situation, which we're sitting in, we are sitting in at this point of time, I think the hospitality has gone in for this sharp V curve. You know, the kind of ADRs, the RGI, the occupancies that the hotels are getting at this point of time are phenomenal. I mean, they're all sitting at about double-digit, growth. And when you talk of ROI, of course, with, the fact that the revenue sides have become very, very pragmatic. And also with that my funding lines have become far more liberal now. I mean, there are people out there who never looked at greenfield projects. If you look at funds, they never looked at greenfield projects with the kind of execution risk that the hotels actually came up with. They are looking at it. Profound funds. There is capital which is now available to this industry because we are performing good for the investors at large. We are meeting their IRR requirements, which are again double-digit, north of 15%, 18%, 20%. And with this kind of a optimized, healthy environment of great revenues, capital which is now walking towards hotels, the ROIs are looking good. I mean, previously, prior to when we were only having traditional lending lines from banks and probably secondary lending lines, which were very expensive, the ROIs at the bare minimum sat at, a return on capital coming around 12 years and more. But now, pragmatic, good performing sites are looking at anything between 7 to 10 years, which is a great diagrammatic shift. So, war, I would keep it out of the picture. I'm very pragmatic. We will be out of it very soon. But if you look at just prior to the war, we were sitting in a very beautiful spot of hospitality actually coming out of the, the difficult times of, We don't have capital to run it. How do I expand? We see every hotel chain announcing numerous hotels. And it is happening because there is now capital chasing hotels. It's a completely U-turn which has happened. So I think it's a very pragmatic time for hotels.
Sure, thanks so much. Mr. Kutty, last year also saw considerable impact on the financial performance of the sector linked to geopolitical conflicts. We even saw adverse weather conditions in some markets affecting the performance of the sector. So what sort of risk assessments do you undertake when it comes to these various markets that could be sensitive to some of these developments?
So, especially in leisure, where we get affected by the geopolitical risks a lot of the time, but climate risks more. Now, what is geopolitical risk for us in India? We are only India focused from an India business perspective. So it's about many a time unstable governments sometimes, change of governments sometimes, correct? Or governments changing from that perspective. A few things like that. So then, if you're working very closely with the governments, then there is something to, we have to be careful about it. But otherwise, from a private sector perspective, India perspective, obviously the international situation like the war situation today or the COVID situation which happened, those are situations we have all gone through and come out of. As far as risk assessment is concerned, the risk assessment based around, now we can't let's take this example, Kashmir as an investment destination. None of us wanted to invest in Kashmir for 20 years. But it changed in the last, 4 years, 5 years after the government was stable, the center did what it did. But then Pahalgam came last year. But there was also the flood in Kashmir, which happened last year, which kind of affects. So you do have to discount for your net operating income, for your occupancy, for a situation like that. So you discount, you underwrite some of these risks at that point of time. But that's from a geopolitical point of view. From a climate point of view, especially in our country with floods and many kinds of these situations, we have to be careful. For example, Himachal last year was a situation, 4 months of rain. We couldn't, many occupancies for a member-led business itself was much lower than usual. Then I could understand what could happen. So we have, for example, Kerala, 5 years, not now in the last 2 years, but 5 years in a row, we had a virus, we had COVID, we had some other situation. We own and operate about 7 resorts there, and we had an occupancy situation there. What does it lead us to? Lead us to whether should we invest more in Kerala? Which destination in Kerala should we really invest in? In that, what would we underwrite and what would we not underwrite? Would we underwrite the occupancies and the ARR of the previous times? Those are the things that we would normally look at. Of course, seasonality and other things one would consider, seasonality, connectivity. Those are regular things to consider. That's the way we look at it.
Sure. Thanks so much. Mr. Chandwaskar, we're hearing of terms like revenge travel, staycations, workations, post the COVID-19 pandemic. How much of these investment and expansion decisions are driven by evolving traveler behavior?
See, a lot of things are sometimes knee-jerk reactions as well. We say, a lot of revenge travel. Yes, it has happened. But people have also started realizing that it's one life, I want to enjoy it myself. They started taking a lot of short haul holidays, 2, 3. Earlier they would take about 1 or 2 holidays a year. Today you're looking at a long weekend and you suddenly see drive-to destinations. And those drive-to destinations are the ones which are really, really doing very well. And that's where we all are as well as a company. Sterling as a company has ensured that you drive not more than 3 to 4 hours to get to a hotel, and then to the next one and to the next one. And those are the kind of experiences that people are looking at, and therefore those investments are also, and when we are sourcing properties, we are also looking at and saying, is that a single destination that I want to do, or is that a circuit that I want to do which can give my guests a lot more immersive experience than just one destination and back. So there is what your focus is currently in saying, look at drive to destinations.
Sure. Thanks so much. Mr. Ahuja, RMZ is known for its large office parks, but you're also looking at identifying leisure locations for hospitality projects. So how would these investments and expansion plans in leisure destinations differ from your pure play office mixed-use projects in Tier 1 cities?
See, I think the trend for leisure hospitality in India is definitely on the upswing, right? Double-digit growth as we over the past few years, and I think it's here to stay because it sort of flows in from your previous questions around revenge travel, etc. And I think that change in attitude has happened, and I think there's no denying that. So anyone looking at moving and entering hospitality cannot ignore the leisure hospitality space. Having said that, I think there is obviously a fundamental difference between business hospitality as well as leisure hospitality. The kind that we are used to and the kind of hotels that we've started developing really have the entire commercial aspect around them to sort of support. The footfalls are inherited from there, and that really is the focus. It's really a functional and a support role that the hotel is playing to the entire office park, right? So which is why, you know, the programming of the hotel is more business-like. You have largely business travelers, short-stay guests, etc. The leisure piece, however, is completely different, right? I mean, there you are curating the hotel for a traveler who is coming to the hotel to stay in that hotel for some period of time, be it 2 days, 3 days, a week, etc. So there you have got to be more careful and more nuanced in terms of site selection, in terms of programming, in terms of the kind of brand that one is bringing in. So I think as we go along and sort of execute on this strategy, you would see that the kind of brands and the brand selection that we would be doing for our leisure portfolio is going to be very, very different vis-a-vis the kind of brands that one is bringing in for the city hotel portfolio. And I think that is going to be a key difference. Having said that, I think on the financial metric side as well, there is a fundamental difference between both the products that we're talking about. Leisure hotels do tend to have a sort of a prolonged return scenario, right? And they need to account for more seasonality, more weather conditions, more geographical distractions, because ultimately it's sort of discretionary travel, right? And even from an acquisition standpoint, I think they tend to be far more challenging, and that's something that we are grappling with as we go along. From the kind of extent of land that one needs to acquire, the issues that are there in terms of title, in terms of acquisition, in terms of ownership, which are far more complicated, if one were to say, vis-a-vis normal city hotels. So I think these few aspects one would definitely need to consider when one is doing a leisure piece. And I think the final sort of thought there is that given that you're spending so much of effort and resources, our leisure strategy will definitely evolve around creating a portfolio of leisure hotels. It's not going to be standalone 1 or 2 hotels in different parts of the country which are not connected. I think there's going to be a sort of a overall portfolio strategy that we'll be doing and a partnership approach that we'll be following as far as the leisure piece is concerned.
Sure. Thanks so much. Mr. Baruah, the branded residences segment has been in the news lately. IHCL has announced a project. Marriott International is also working on a branded residences project. Are you exploring that space? And any markets of potential that you see in the branded residences segment in India?
Right. Yes, we are exploring the concept of branded residences and how it may apply to Indian scenario. We've also realized that it is a combination of a lot of infrastructure that needs to go into a particular location for branded residences to sit on top of the pyramid of that entire residential address or community. We've studied the models of competitive companies, how they've tried to demonstrate, and beyond these 2 names as well, there are other companies who've tried to make branded residences work in India. We will make announcements at the opportune moment. But I think for us, it goes back to our foundation learning. We got the hotels right, in the right location, at the right time, for the right scale and the right asset. We want to apply that same approach to even getting branded residences right. Because we feel just as we owe it to the customer today coming into the hotel, we need to have the right equation with the eventual resident of these establishments. So for us, It's a little bit of understand the market, be ready with the toolkits, and when we get into the space, we will be doing simultaneous projects which will allow you to witness how ITC can also make the residential experience at par with the services that we give at the hotel. So yes, it is on the cards, but the card is not yet there.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Ms. Malhotra, I was speaking to some hospitality leaders at the conference, and some of them are of the opinion that the lines of expertise between chains are blurring in India. Everyone is doing everything and the market is up for grabs. So what's your take on the opportunities in the Indian market currently?
I mean, as I said previously, currently India is going through a very pragmatic times. And hence everybody is up to maximizing the potential of development and expanding their brand. And hospitality, I feel, if you compare it with a lot of asset classes, be it commercial office space, be it retail, be it branded residences, it runs as a spine, and the expertise of hospitality is quite asset agnostic. You can apply the expertise to differentiating a commercial office space from, just a plain vanilla commercial office space to a luxury premium office space, and same is the case for retail. And hence I feel that the expertise that a hotelier or a hospitality industry has is actually catching up like fire across all asset classes, because the kind of precision, the detailing, and the elements of luxury and upper upscale experience that we're able to provide as hospitality professionals, I think the other asset classes are demanding that kind of an expertise to come through to them. And hence, we're catching up on all the industries wherever they want to actually make a mark and differentiate. Yes.
Thanks so much. Mr. Kutty, as per some reports, 45% of the inventory in India is currently owned or managed by listed entities. Mahindra Holidays and Resorts is a listed entity. I understand it works on a timeshare model, but how much of your investment decision making is driven by what the hospitality chains are doing in the listed space?
Okay, before that, just to respond to the earlier question, unlike most people, most brands, we don't do everything. We are not in all the spaces. We are focused on leisure, we are focused on upscale, upper upscale, and we will get into luxury. We will not do anything more than that. That's because we believe our expertise is there, our right to win is there, our swim lanes are clear, our strengths are clear. As far as do we follow competitors or listed competitors or brands into destinations or resorts? I'll answer it in two ways. One, from the point of view of our new business which we announced. December we announced a new business. We are venturing into luxury resorts that we have announced as Mahindra Signature Resorts. The first one which comes up in Theog in Himachal. So in that space we are out there competing with everybody. But we are part of the Mahindra group. We look at sustainable long-term returns. Of course, we are in the quarter of the game, but at the end of the day, we also know our investors are long-term. We will not do our compromise, for the sake of only short-term gains. We will not sacrifice the long-term part at all. So from our perspective, say from Mahindra Signature Resorts, which are luxury resorts perspective, very clear we will be in established markets only. We will go where the ARRs are between 20 to 30,000 rupees. We will be able to, we should be able to perform, should have a right to win, and it should be leisure locations. That's as far as, so it's not really, having a market is interesting. Drivable markets are today more interesting, like all of us are talking about, that's there. Now let's look at the other piece, which is our current business, or our business which has been very successful for the last 30 years, which is Mahindra Holidays from a Club Mahindra perspective. In that, we don't follow the market in many, many ways. Where the competition is going is a data point. in the maximum. We lead with destinations many a time. We go into destinations where others have not gone, like I gave the example earlier. And we have inside data points and other data points to look at outside in perspective, like I said earlier, to be able to say where should we go next. So not really, yeah. Say, just take the example, say Jim Corbett. 15 years back, we went there probably 16, 18 years back, we entered Jim Corbett. There was not a single brand. Today, everybody is there. Now, Kuchiatal, about 2 hours away from Jim Corbett, nobody was there. We went there 15, 18 years back and created a market. So it's both a balancing of creating a market and, of course, being in the established market, whether it is Jaipur or Kerala or Goa or otherwise. That's the way we look at it.
Sure, thanks so much. Mr. Chandwaskar, do standalone destinations still work, or is the future in clusters and circuits?
Taking on from my previous point where I said standalone destinations do work. There are certain iconic ones which will work for sure. But more and more that we see today, it's those clusters or circuits that are working for See, like I said, what people are looking for are immersive experiences, are different kinds of experiences as well. Your standalone destination will get you a 1.5, 2 days kind of stay. But when you are giving a circuit experience to the guest, you have 7 to 10 days. What we have seen in our in Sterling is that 7 to 10 days when you give a circuit, that's the kind of length of stay that is coming out for the guest. It's a different experience for the guest. 2, 3 different kinds of experiences that are happening. Your length of stay is increasing, and you're also able to generate more revenue out of it. One. So we've understood that very clearly. We've created a package called Water Trip for our guests, which is an end-to-end solution for our guests. They themselves are able to curate the entire package. But there are multiple challenges that also come into play there, right? Transportation, ground handling, etc., etc. And that's where Sterling steps in and says, we take care of it end to end for you. All you have to do is just book the holiday, leave the rest to us, and that's the most important thing that a guest is looking for when he's going for a circuit holiday. And that gives him a lot of encouragement to look at it as well that way. So yes, iconic destinations will continue to work, standalone ones, but more the guest is there over the weekend, let's say, or towards the end of the week, he's been there, he's finished his work, he says, well, let me just drive up a couple of hours and get to a Shimla or a Kufri. So that's what we are looking at from our guests. We are able to give that experience, and those are the kind of destinations Sterling is entering into as well. It's not just about putting up a hotel in any destination and says, hey, this looks nice, let's put up a hotel here. Is there a value that I'm adding to the guest? Is there a business and an element of leisure to it as well? That's the entire thought process that we are working on. And we believe in that very strongly, that it's circuits which will work, not just standalones.
Sure. So any clusters and circuits that seem to be doing considerably well currently?
We've Rajasthan, which does very well. We've got Tamil Nadu, which does extremely well. So does Kerala, Uttarakhand, Himachal, I can just go on. But these are all circuits which is exactly what guests are looking for as well from us, and saying, listen, I'll get to this place. And since we've given them the freedom of curating their own holiday, there's a lot of flexibility on the guests, and they're able to pick and choose their destinations and say, this is where I want to go. And the most important comfort factor is, I take care of everything end to end for you. That's what it is. I can keep naming, but
sure.
These are some of them that I named.
Sure. Thanks so much. Mr. Ahuja, RMZ aims to develop real estate projects worth $25 billion by 2029. How much of these investments are going to be about hospitality?
See, I think that number was correct at one point in time. I think that's increased significantly over the past few years because of the traction that we witnessed across multiple asset classes. Now, just RMZ as an organization is really a real asset manager, which has investments on offices, in data centers, retail, hospitality, and now residential as well. So really, I mean, as far as the hospitality piece is concerned, we discussed it's a support to the office spaces as we go along, and then we have the leisure strategy that one is talking about. So yes, as of now, it's a fairly small percentage. It's not publicly disclosed, so I'll keep it that way. But we do expect that the same will increase as we go along because the hospitality component is now going to be an integral part of all our future developments as we progress. However, the most critical aspect really is that we need to ensure that our hotels are built on cash flows so that they can be sold on cash flows. So every single hotel needs to pass that return metric, our investment committee returns hurdle, be it on the EBITDA margin side or the yield to cost side. So all those financial parameters need to really take off. As Ms. Malhotra mentioned that returns over a course of 10-year period, I think we are aiming for even shorter. Let's see whether we succeed or not, but I think that's something that that we want to aim for because I think every single asset class needs to stand on its own, and that will really determine the quantum of hospitality investments, at least RMZ does going forward.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. Any questions that you have for the panelists here? If anyone would like to ask anything.
What kind of returns?
Sure.
What kind of returns do we expect from these investments? Because hospitality generally does not create a great yield, and I've seen people shying away, and a lot of real estate players actually shying away. Like Dhruv also mentioned, they are clubbing it with with commercial, and then it's starting to make some sense. But for those who are doing it standalone, what kind of yields are we looking at from these investments, or IRR, or whatever return measures that we are looking at?
I'd like to take that.
I can take that. I think we've benchmarked at 13% as an IRR threshold internally. And IRR is not the only guidance for which we could get into a project. Sometimes you do end up with a very great site. But like I said a little earlier, if the infrastructure does not add up, then all your projections and calculations may kind of, get delayed and move a little haywire. So that's how we look at it. And like I said, investment is not an overnight decision for anybody. And this entire conference is based on that. There are series of micro decisions that you take which must add up. And the beauty of investment is once you take the decision, there's no going back. So there is no, let's go back 2 days back in time or 2 years back in time and do it all over again. So that's how we look at it. It's IRR is one component, but there are other parameters which will, energize you. Sometimes competition also gives you a sense of what is best for the market. So we study competition as well. So it's not just an inward-looking decision. We've seen two leisure operators do it for decades. Maybe we're learning something from them, and vice versa. I mean, he's mentioning the word hotels after a long time. So it's a sign that's how we work, and that gives you confidence that certain markets will hit the threshold that you're envisaging at a planning stage.
So, I like to add to it and do a analysis in the other way around. So as I said, there is capital now chasing hotels, and you see a lot of funds, be it your Brookfields, GIC, and there are a lot of others, Blackstones of the world, chasing hotels now to pump in capital, and their carrying cost of equity is all double digit. They vary anything between 18% to 24%. And they are making their IRRs in 7 years before they have to actually create an exit for themselves. That means the hotels are now earning for them. Right. So, on a generalistic basis, we as hotel owners might keep a pessimistic threshold of about 12 to 13% to give a green signal, okay, we're ready to go and invest in the project. But the hotels now, with the kind of V-shaped cycle we're sitting in at this point of time, are actually making money for these funds. And they are getting ups of 18% as an IRR at the time when they're exiting out of their portfolios. So actually, if you were to look at it, it's much better than what we're envisaging, is what I'm trying to say. And the funds do meticulous analysis. You'll be able to, probably second me on this, much more than how the hotel owners do, but the funds are far more meticulous. So they are getting more than 18% XIRR at the end of their investment cycle.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
one question
Sure.
with regard to, since experts are here, is it, not required, is it important for us, like these kind of forums, that it is in time to redefine hospitality? The era of new definition of hospitality has changed. Now, going to a hotel, seeing a good chandelier or good interior, even the residences have better interiors than hotels nowadays, even the kitchens. So why I will go to the hotel is a big question. And when we are talking about ROI, is it the real things which is now going to be appealing in terms of a music theme hotel, a food or a art, which then can become asset light as an attraction to come, rather than spending money on CP fitting sanitaries and those of the world, and that is the only definition of statement of 5-star. I mean, madam, if maybe you can highlight.
You know, I think it's a brilliant question. And you know, the thought process you have is being picked up by a lot of hotel chains, and then they are coming up with these curated, immersive experiences, as we just talked about. And there is that category of hotels which are particularly serving art lovers, wildlife lovers. So there are these hotels which are giving differentiated experiences which are meant for a very specific audience. But notwithstanding, it means that we're nullifying the big box structures. All right, so it is developing, it has developed, but still there is that 80% of the hotels out there who are giving the big box structures, giving those chandelier experiences, CP fittings are being put, as you said, but now that has evolved and it is coming of age. You have hotels who are particularly targeting art, wildlife, as I said. They're talking about, getting international artists to perform over there, and they're actually specializing in that. So yes, it's coming of age now. Yeah, you're right.
Just to add on to that, the curated experiences, the immersive experiences, that's what you go to any destination for, because you're not looking to just go to an done and dusted destination. You're looking for offbeat destinations today. You spoke about art. You're old enough to remember the film Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar, right? That was shot in the cycling story. That was shot in Kodaikanal. So we've got a property in Kodaikanal. We created cycle-themed suites for our guests, and a lot of enthusiasts who come and specifically want to stay there. So those are the kind of experience that one is looking for. And yes, these demands from guests are what are driving us to make those changes, apart from those fancy chandeliers or gold CP fittings.
You know, just to add, let's take a different take on this. Your question is also, the fancy chandelier era in a way over? I think that's, in a way, that's where you're leading. Our take and my take personally is, it's not over, but that's not good enough now. Right? For business travel, you travel for functional reasons, for a great bed, you need a great breakfast, all of those reasons, right? But in leisure, you travel for meaning. You are with family a lot of the time, or for events. Oh, it's about experiences then. It's far more than the infrastructure, I would say. And hence the different niches that are evolving, which people speak about. And of course, brands need to adjust, and some of the designers, brands are today, I'm sure, ready to adjust and understand what is required from a traveler perspective, rather than then saying 4 crores a key and 5 crores a key. I think because finally returns matter.
If I may just step in here to this point as well. You're talking about differentiation, but I think an important aspect to keep in mind is relevant differentiation. I can have a car with 6 wheels, right? But does it really matter? I still drive the same car with 4 wheels. So I think relevant differentiation is one aspect. The second aspect is it's very risky now from a financial point of view to be an over niche, for example, because tomorrow the customer perception and the customer want changes, you're finished. So you need to bring in a little bit of generalization into the whole game. And as ma'am did say, the box structure needs to have a strong component along with the niche offering. But that niche offering, you should be able to change it fast with the change in needs and at a lower cost. That's an important aspect. We were talking about IRR, XIRR, etc. One of the interesting points which one of the analysts did ask me, he said, if I have 100 rupees, why would I put it in hotels and not in IT sector? So, at the end of the people will look at it from that perspective. So I retorted to that and I told him why. And then the next question he asked me, why you and not someone else? I answered that as well. So you need to be very clear that when we are speaking about returns on investments, people, and we're talking about the fact that a lot of funds can come in, a lot of funds can even go somewhere else. So we need to be very clear as to why we would stand out as against putting my funds in another industry.
Thanks so much. Any more questions? Thanks so much.
Thank you to our wonderful panel for
Thanks
such
so
an
much.
interesting discussion, as well as the audience for asking such engaging questions. We will now be taking a short 10-minute break and we will reconvene at 3:05 p.m. Thank you. We'll just have a group picture. Sorry.